Heritage Park where there's like 2 stacked traffic lights. We're going to attempt to make some improvements there and put a mast arm up there also.
And I did on the way in tonight, I did, you know, not often do you look down that much, you know, and finally getting into a new vehicle after 13 years, my suspension is a lot better. But I drove Hardy all the way, and it is in a lot worse shape than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Councilman Johnson?
So, quick question, do you know if Act 51's funds have been pretty much steady for the past 10 years? Right around the same amount? I think they have been.
Can we let Jason answer that question?
Jason, you there?
I'm here. What was the question again?
Charlie, can you repeat that?
Yeah, could you tell me the Act 51 funds, have they been stable for the past, let's say, 10 years?
Has the Act 51 funds been stable the last 10 years?
Basically, they're roughly around the same amount. Yeah. That's what you mean, right, Charlie?
Well, yes, there was an uptick, say about 2 or 3 years ago. There was an uptick in revenue because there were some one-time funding sources that the state approved during their budgets, and with the change and increase in this gas tax that also happened a few years ago, there was an uptick. So the level of revenues that the city is receiving for the last 2 years and forward is definitely a little bit higher than it has been on average in the past because of the new legislation. I mean, that's all I know. That's all I can comment on. I don't know if Pat may know a little bit more. Pat McGowan, he may know a little bit more on that. But there was some legislation that did pass a few years ago that increased the revenue to the city, and the city did receive an uptick in revenue. So that's what I do on my projections for you guys there, as I kind of show that uptick and I kind of level it out with a small increase per year.
Thank you.
Councilman Ramik?
My concern is, with everything going on, we're looking at $24 million. Now, one of the questions I have, and I noticed, we got 15 years of payments, rating over $1 million a year, if not more. Does Act 51 every year pay that? That comes from Act 51?
Yes.
So we're going to do that for the next 15 years. So with that being said, and you said yourself, I believe, that will affect what we do with other roads because of that kind of money being spent toward Pardee and Goddard, correct?
Correct, but Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out, the bonds that we previously borrowed on the same stretch of roads just fell off. So you're doing a dollar for dollar replacement of those bonds and adding to it.
And that's my biggest concern. I think 2 meetings ago, the chairman himself and I agreed with him. We continue to spend money like nothing's happening in this state. My biggest concern is, and we don't know what the state's going to do yet, but yet we're looking at $24 million, which I believe you can ask Jason, will this put us around $92 million in debt?
Jason, did you hear that?
I did not, Chairman. I'm sorry. It was a little bit faded. What was the
92
question?
million in debt?
Ask him if this is going to put us around $92 million, the city in debt.
Is
Total debt.
Is this going to put us $92 million total in debt?
I guess the question would be, there is different forms of debt that the city has outstanding right now. There's the general government debt. There's the enterprise funds debt, which is the sewer, water for the systems, and then there's component unit debt that Tifa pays for, Brownfield pays for. Currently, I sent a request out. Councilman Ramik did request where the city lies in debt. So currently, with all that debt between the general government, the enterprise funds, and the component units, as of 6/30/2020, the outstanding principal was approximately $55 million. And then adding this $24 million would be about $74 million in total. And what Councilman Ramik may be referring to in that $94 million is the interest is included in that. So that's our total debt service schedule. If we added the $24 million, we would have to add the interest into, but I just kind of look at the principal amount outstanding. Keep in mind too that the city does have a legal debt margin that it cannot borrow more than, it depends on the type of security. and I believe Pat could say more about that if he's asked about it, but I believe the legal debt margin for a city is 10% of SEV, or state equalized value, which puts that amount for the city of Taylor at approximately $127 million. So to summarize that, the city cannot borrow more than $127 million. But there is some debt that is not included in that calculation. And correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but I believe the MTF bonds are not included in that calculation. So does that answer your question, Councilman Ramik? Is that it would put the total principal outstanding at about
79.
79 million if the bonds are approved.
So, in your opinion then, the addition of $24 million to this, which the city still has to pay these debts, correct? No matter which ones they are.
Through the chair, that is correct. The city has to pay it, but they're also paid from most of the debt is paid from restricted sources, meaning you have the TVA bonds, you have the sewer bonds, EPA bonds, you have the water bonds, Ecorse Creek bonds, TIFA, brownfield bonds, which are all paid for and secured by the revenues in those funds.
One question to you before, can we afford this, in your opinion?
Through the chair, the question is, in my opinion, can we afford this?
Yes. Well, that's the way it comes.
Putting you on the spot.
That's right.
And again, all I can say is, looking at the financial summary that I provided with the bonds, the total debt service is approximately just under 30% of the revenue. And as long as the city can, remain in that spending for those discretionary projects, I think it's very affordable. I think that, as long as the revenue stream keeps up, and I'm a conservative person when I do these numbers and these estimates, so I think that this definitely could be affordable for those Act 51 funds, yes.
As long as we get the revenue.
As long as the revenue assumptions stay the same, yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Mr. Chairman, just before, Pat McGowan from Miller Canfield is also here. I know Jason had kind of referred to him a couple of times. I don't know if, Pat, if you want to add anything before we go to the next